Hey all, first let me say sorry about the shitty lighting on this video. I know my face is halfway whited out. But anyways, other than that, I'm doing a video because I feel it convey a lot more information in a shorter amount of time as far as some of the things I'd like to change and implement about our gaming session. There are a few things that are kind of, well, pet peeving me, to be honest. And the thing is a lot of these things, all they do is detract from the amount of time that we have to focus on the game. And that's one of the major reasons I'm considering that we all get together to play this game, aside from maybe the socialization fact. I understand that. We all want to get together, talk, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of the things that we're talking about aren't really off subject or anything like that, or necessarily wrong or bad, but it eats into our game time. I figured yesterday we could have had this whole adventure finished up, but because of so many little questions and arbitrary moments that seem to slow down this, that, and the other thing, we didn't get to finish. So, with that in mind, I remember when I first started talking about how I was going to give experience penalties for such things, and I gave out one, I believe, to Dave, and that was it, and then I sort of stopped. Well, the reason I kind of did that was because I know the only thing that makes a valuable income in this game is experience. It's the only thing that really is a true testament of a character's build and how far he's got. That's why in this version of the game, people don't lose experience. So, I'm going to change that. From now on, when you break one of these rules that I feel that wastes our time as a group, I'm going to give you what's called a session negative level. For the rest of the session, you will have one negative level for doing one of these things that seem to slow us down. If you do it again, you will gain another negative level, and they will stay until the end of the session. They're not permanent, and the fact that they're permanent negative levels that you have to remove, but if you wish to get rid of them in-game, you may use a restoration spell for 1,000 gold pieces, and then wait a week of game time if we actually go that long when we play on a weekend session. Other than that, they will stay until the end of the session. So, I'm giving you guys all a heads up and warning about some of these bullet points that I wrote down personally that seem to be annoying me, and I will go over them with you briefly. No more help. Period. No more helping each other out. This shit's getting to the point where it's just ridiculous. We're all fucking 30 years old. We should know some simple math, man. And if it takes like a few minutes to figure that shit out, roll your attack rolls ahead of time. I don't care. As long as it speeds it up. And that's what it really boils down to. Roll your attacks, roll your damage, and know your turn is coming, pretty much. You know, no more help in general. Like, no more adding for somebody. No more character building. We're 10th level. If you don't know how to make a character, I don't know what to tell you. I will help you, like I said, this Saturday. But I'll be damned if I'm going to build another fucking person's character. We're 10th level. Figure it out. Alright? So, that's pretty much that. And character actions also. Have an opinion. Have some input. Show me some effort. Crack a fucking book. Surprise me that you actually learned something about this game and bring it forth to me. Because a lot of people, I'm going to be straight up honest, without having to call out particular names, really don't show me that they even want to be here to begin with, because they don't show any incentive, they don't show any input. I mean, now, we're not even, like, on the subject of the book no more. We're off of that. We're talking like the crumbs of the bread. You know, you don't have an input? You want to go left or right? I don't care. That's not going to work no more. You say, I don't care, I don't know, your character doesn't have any input, boom, negative level. So, have some input. And as far as input, have your own input, and don't let somebody else put their foot in your mouth to give you their input. If I have to hear, I would do this, or generally tell somebody else what their character should be able to do when that person doesn't have the information, or somebody generally telling me, the person that's running the game, like, I have a missing piece of information, like, I don't know that you're on higher ground, or I don't do this, or I don't do that because I'm not giving that suggestion out, generally means I'm not going to give it to you, so don't bother wasting your time asking if you can get it. Simple as that. If I don't state it, don't bother asking for it. It'll make it a lot quicker, save us a lot of headaches, moves everything out a lot more seemingly. Alright? So if we do that, no problem. Less questions in general, the better. Remember, all of these things are just bullet points off of the rules that I put up already. If you have a question, check the book. It's got a glossary and an index. If you don't know how to use a glossary and index, yet again, I'm going to strike again with the hard-hitting facts that maybe this isn't your game. If you can't look in the back of a book or the front of a book in alphabetical order and look for something that you're trying to find, Yet again, there's the confused face. Can't help you. Alright? So, if you're looking for something that's so arbitrary that you can't finally figure it out and you're beating your head against the wall after 5 or 10 minutes of research of actually looking through the book, yes, then feel free to ask me. But trying to use that as a reference to troll me to death and beat me the head over the rule with rules, it's not going to happen either. So, it's got to have a fine, invisible line somewhere in the middle that we all can come together on, and just know that sometimes enough is enough. You got to give it a break. You know, it's just a time restraint. You know, you ask a certain question and it can go off into a big old thing that has nothing to do with what we're dealing with at the moment. Before you know it, 15 minutes have gone by when that could have been the introduction to the next adventure or introduction to the next encounter. Stop. If not, negative levels. Alright? Know your character. Read more. Take it in and don't just write notes, because when you do that, you're giving yourself permission to forget. I understand that's what a character sheet is. It's giving yourself a big, essentially, amount of things to forget. And I believe this goes hand in hand with people helping other people build their characters. Because these people don't even pick up the pencils and fill out the statistics on each of the character. How are they going to ever learn anything? They need this opportunity. It's time to sink or swim, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm giving this opportunity now because it's a fresh start. Everybody's making new characters. So, if this new fresh start seems like it's a little bit too hardcore for you, I will not be heartbroken if you don't want to play no more. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just trying to say it's time to pick up the slack. If you don't have the love of this game, don't fool yourself. Don't keep playing the game. If you don't have the intrigue to try to figure out some sort of the simple mathematics and statistical formulas that make your character do what they do, and that's a chore, and it's not something that's fun or interesting to you, this, again, is not your game. Stop playing. You know, because it's a trust fund. We all work together to make sure that we all ensure and enrich and get fun out of this activity that we do for 12 hours. Have a fucking day. So obviously we're inclined to do it to have fun. So, let everybody have their chance to do that, including myself. Alright? And the way I look at it is this. If you make your own character, and then you ask me questions after the fact, or if you make your own character and pass it over to me to proofread, that's not a problem. I'm more than willing to do that. That's essentially my job, is to help out. But there's a difference between helping and running another NPC, if you catch my drift. I do enough. I make the world, I make the monsters, I make the creatures, I proofread, I make the monsters themselves if I don't have a miniature for them on my printer. I read literally hundreds and hundreds of pages in advance to make sure I have a gist of what the hell is going on, and you don't have the basic knowledge of that your character can open a door with a skill check. You don't know what the fuck you do. You just sort of like have this shit ragtag and pop together. So, after you do this, and I look at your character, and I might have a chuckle of what's wrong with it, we can correct it, and I can address those issues on a need-to-do basis. So, enough of that, we'll move on. As far as moving on, though, we'll keep on the same thought process of knowing what the hell your character does. If you're a spellcaster, don't just tell me a saving throw DC. Don't have half the information when you do something. Tell me what you're doing. Cast a spell. I cast fill in the blank. Alright. What is the saving throw against fill in the blank? What is the range against fill in the blank? Are there any special conditions against fill in the blank? Know this shit, because I will ask. 9 times out of 10, I will ask. 100% of the time, if there's a saving throw for the spell, I need it. That's all there is to it. So, be ready, be cognate. Like I said, if everybody, you know, especially how long it's taking to get around the table. It takes like literally 5 to 10 minutes, and you don't have that shit ready? No more of that shit. If you don't have information complete when you tell me, which leads into the next point I'm getting to, it's failure. You know, I'm not going to hit you with a negative level, but you fail. You cast a spell, and if I have to say, what spell did you cast? And then you fill in the gap, it fizzles. You were attacked by invisible enemies, and you failed your concentration check. I don't give a fuck how you want to explain it. It just ain't gonna work no more, because that ain't right. Just like anybody else, the fighter goes up, I walk up, and I swing. Sure, he may have an axe, he may have a sword, but he may have a club, but he's still walking up and swinging, and generally it's pretty easy to assume what the fuck they're gonna do. If a person that's got weapon specialization and the axe that they use for 9 sessions or whatever, like, good luck in this group, because everyone seems to die, but that being another play, it's simplistic. I understand that. Spells, on the other hand, is taking all those little simplistic rules and twisting them and tweaking them in all these different directions that are unexpected or unknown. And keep in mind, I may have read the book cover to cover. Doesn't mean necessarily I retain everything. I try to notice the difference between one edition to the next, but I don't necessarily know everything. So the more you help me with, by knowing, the faster we can go, the more we can get done. And I know it has a little bit to do with these higher levels, but just like any good student, if you have homework, do your homework. Don't show up with an incomplete. You know, if you went up a level, correct the damn book. Look online. There's plenty of resources. I put it on the page myself twice now. It tells you exactly everything that's ever published by these people. They put up for free. So there's really not an excuse. Period. To be honest, I'm talking to you on a computer, so obviously you have a way to use one. All right. As far as the spells and knowledgeables of what they do, also have a general assertion of what also the bells and whistles of being a spellcaster are, such as, what's my spell penetration check? What's my caster level check? Pretty easy shit. They're both the same. What level caster are you? Do you have anything else? Done. Not fucking hard. I mean, what level are you? I'm a 10th level blood sausage. Alright, great. You get fucking plus 10 caster level for your mustard dousing attack, whatever the fuck. And, but at least you know that you're plus 10 on your mustard dousing attack against their spell resistance of 26. So if you roll a 16 or 16 or higher, you cover their wiener and mustard. Yay, congratulations. Alright. Fucking, and then when you have these things go off and you have these spells and effects, keep track of them. There's no more backtracking shit. I don't do it. You hear me bitch about, fuck, at least once I've encountered, I forgot this, or I forgot that. I don't go back in time. I don't assess extra damage. I don't say, oops, I would have hit you. No, I don't do that shit. And I don't expect it out of my players either in return. So, if you forget something, you forgot something. I forget shit all the time. It happens to the best of us. I smoke weed at the table. My short-term memory is probably garbage to begin with. But I retain a lot of shit as it is. And I can't remember everything else about your spell's duration, how long it goes on, and what it does, and yada yada. That's your prerogative to tell me what the effects of your spell are. Kind of leads into the last subject matter we talked about. Knowing what the fuck you're doing with your character. Have some intricate details and knowledge of what you can do. And if these spells, if you're not really sure if it's going to be a help to the party or a hindrance to the party, generally it's a good assessment that you maybe shouldn't cast that spell, and generally go with the spell that you know will help the party. Hey, giving everybody +4 to their strength or any ability score definitely is going to help. Giving somebody the +3 to all their saving throws or something like that, definitely going to help. Casting Earthquake in the castle that you guys want to seize to go inside and maybe plunder, not very helpful. You crumbled the castle. You killed all the occupants, but you buried everything else that was worthwhile underneath a pile of rubble. So, just have a little bit of foreknowledge about, how positive is this spell versus how negative is this spell to the progression of the group. And let's leave alignments out of that altogether. Because a lot of people took a lot of time to write these adventures, and I took enough time and money to put myself into these adventures. So, generally, when you sabotage yourself, you kind of spit in the face of the people that wrote this shit, and spit in my face for bothering reading half of this crap. Don't get me wrong, other options are one thing, but total dismantling and derailing of the situation is another.